And she's one of those people who I envy in a lot of ways because she seems to have figured out how to love life, like every moment of it.
This is the Deep Dive with Adam Roa.
What's up? What's up to create community here live? And what is up to deep divers listening to this or watching the video on YouTube? Thank you for being a part of this conversation with Marci Lock, aka Sundari, the Light Alchemist. She is one of the most, how do I even word that? I love these intros where I get to just off the cuff.
Like,
Marci Marci is someone who I had heard about so much in Encinitas when I had first moved there in California. And one of the things that, like, how she was described was someone who charged $1 million for coaching. That was like how she, like, her name was whispered in rooms. And I thought, okay, she's probably one of these just business minded, like hustle and grind kind of people. And then I had her on this podcast actually years ago in my house in Encinitas. And that was the first time we really got to drop in. And I was blown away by how similar we were in terms of just how much of an impact we wanted to make by leading with our hearts, and how deeply ingrained into esoteric ancient wisdom we were and all the things. So it took me by such surprise because she was one of the first people that I felt like was living in a way that I felt I was living as well, but had figured out how to master the 3D world of money and business and all of these things. And so it was mind-blowing. And since then, we have become closer and closer friends, and I feel like her heart keeps getting bigger and she just finds a way to care even more and like put out even more light. And she's one of those people who I envy in a lot of ways because she seems to have figured out how to love life, like every moment of it. And I appreciate that so much. So Marci, thank you for coming on the podcast once again and doing it live here in the Create community.
I'm so filled with joy. Thank you. How much greater I get to be here with you. And Adam, I love and adore you infinitely, my brother of light. I have so many fond memories of our play. And I was telling someone last night about being on this, and I was just like, Adam is just same thing. I was like, I could just talk about Adam forever. He's just glorious. So I love that we get to all dance together and see each other in our lights.
Yeah, well, thank you. I received that and I appreciate that. And I would love to start off, honestly, by asking you a question just personally. What I want to know is what has been the biggest piece of like shift in your transformation or consciousness up level in the last few months during this quarantine COVID time? I know that you've gone in, that's just how you live. So what's been the biggest shift for you?
Yeah, well, I feel like there's a few that are really relevant in that. I don't know if you knew about it, but I had gotten a really intense staph infection about a month and a half before COVID hit. And so it was kind of put me into what COVID would bring, like as far as like completely off grid. I don't know if you guys are aware of staph, but it's like I got like 60 to 100 open wounds all over my whole body. It was like, it's like having an open burn and air hurts and you can't shower, you can't move, you can't sweat, or it could spread. It was just, this thing hit me like within days, and they were like, this is going to kill you. And the beauty of re-alchemizing that, what dropped in for me was realizing and remembering what the normal collective deals with all the time, with pain with the body, with, seeing life out of victimization, control, etc. And as this thing came up for me, and I got to implement what I teach and live like fully, and how much joy can I receive with all this? What is this here for? And what is this teaching me? What dropped in and came through was I started receiving activations and codes of light and like recoding the system from the Syrians and the Pleiadians, which were shifting my DNA to a different frequency. And I was just coming out of this intense thing where I was doing 10 to 12 hours of NADs and vitamin C drips and things like that every single day, to then when COVID hit and everyone was going off grid. And what I got from them was they're like, I got to alchemize what was already coming into the field, which was victimization, control, annihilation, all these things of our deepest shadows that were coming up. And so I'm continually witnessing how we can see something as, we know that this is the greatest awakening. This is the thing that we've been calling forth. And so, but to witness and see it so clearly as we're moving from 3D, right now we're really in 4D, which is all the illusions of the 3D seem so fucking real. They're more real than ever, to allow us to see beyond the illusion and transmute all things to light, to then operate in fifth dimensional consciousness above, which is unconditional love. And when I did my own journey day near when I was coming out of this, because all of a sudden I was just called to massive leadership in the light, as you are, Adam, and as so many of us were felt called to step forward and lead even more. I had a conversation with my body, with this staff, because I still had a few little spots showing up, and I was like, okay, trusting that my body was cleansing and alchemizing. And I had a conversation with it, and I said, what else is here? What's the feedback? And it said, and I was like asking it, like almost like to finish getting rid of it, which we tend to do on, surface spiritual bypass. We're like, I love you. I love you. Is it gone yet? Is it gone yet?
Totally. It's like, I've already embraced you. You should be gone.
I've embraced you. You can go now.
Yeah.
Instead of like, okay, can I fully accept all things as are and become at peace with all things? And that's why for years, my motto has been peace is my highest priority. Like peace, my frequency is always my highest priority. If there's anything in my realm that I'm not at peace with, it shows me what I get to heal within. And so I was kind of asking it in that, and I recognized there was kind of that like, okay, well, what else? And it said, I was your gift. I was annihilating. And it said, and I kept getting the word annihilation when I was going through this, like it was trying to annihilate me. And what it said is I was annihilating everything in your system to be cleansed and cleared, to upgrade your frequency to the next level of light. And it's really what we know we're going through with all of this is allowing ourselves to embrace higher frequency, which means everything gets to be destroyed and destroyed. The other thing that comes through for me is, just a reference point of what I've witnessed is how manifestation is so much fucking easier right now, because so many people are getting caught into the illusion and the heaviness and the collective, and the field is wide open when you choose to rise above those ideas and stories and frequencies and buy into that. And the field is wide open for manifestation to just, because the portal is so powerful right now. The energy is so powerful. So, I don't know if you saw the video I did when the place that I'm at now is like this huge, massive mansion on the beach, private beach, etc. I got to the day that my book launched. And
is this the place? This is the place with the guest room for me?
There's so many guest rooms for you. There's like 5 guest rooms for you. There's
awesome.
It's huge. And again, like then choosing to like, there was another level of embodiment for me. What I feel like I continue to grow in, as you do, is like just newer levels of embodiment. We go, oh, I get it at a new degree. And so we're coding in these things. So what's really come in so strongly is just, I did an online event the other day called Manifestation of the New Human, which we have like a replay for maybe a couple more days available if anybody wants that. But I really was the codes that the Syrians and Palladians were bringing forth, which is we all get to remember the base foundation is that I am a God. You are a God. I am a God. We are all God. And the moment we choose to see anything out of love, hear it out of love, or not see anything as God, is the moment we create separation and buy into the lie, which is just feeding the 3D matrix, which we pull ourselves into. And so it's like a whole new upgrade of like, hey, guess what? The baseline isn't now like, okay, I get to, try to trust and believe that I'm worthy. It's like, oh no, the baseline is you're fucking God. Like that's the baseline that we're going here for the new earth communities and the new earth frequencies, and what's available is that everyone is fully supported. There's enough infinite abundance in the universe right now for everyone to be a billionaire. So there hasn't been a resources issue. There's been a distribution issue. Mm-hmm. And so coming together as a new earth and the new humans, as I like to call it, is to align to that highest level of frequency and consciousness where literally I could never judge another, hurt another, because I'd only be judging and hurting myself. I could never, not share everything that I have, because I'm infinitely abundant from the universe and all there is. So it's almost just been like, it's been dropping in these codes of deeper imprinting that I've gotten to then share those codes that people can recognize this is illusion. How do we step forth into seeing what this truly is?
Okay. I'm going to play Heaven's Advocate on this because to
I knew
share
you
even
would. I knew you would.
I'm there because I agree with so much of what you're saying, and I'll share from like my personal experience what I've been going through. I feel like you know me, so when this has all gone in, I dove straight into the belly of the beast. So
Yep.
hours and hours and hours of research on what's going on, from like deep state to esoteric to very, very just 3D human. Like I find that for me, I go through periods of intake and then
Yep.
output. So like I'll
Yep.
have an intake, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I'm doing this poem or I'm doing this thing as a result of myself alchemizing all that I took in during a particular period.
Yep.
For me personally, I feel like I'm going through a death process where I'm releasing the idea that humanity makes it out of this in a really nice way. Like I feel like there's a part of me that is the more that I've really learned about the inner workings and the almost like, let's call them energetic self-defense mechanisms of the current paradigm.
Yep.
It's put me in a state of like, we might actually, I feel like humans are underdogs right now. That's like how I currently feel. Humans are the underdogs. And so there's a very real possibility that it just looks real ugly and gets really bad at a certain point. And there's been, for myself, this death process, as I'd call it, of letting go of the idea that that I'm we can shift it, and actually just saying, you know what, it's kind of like what you were talking about, where okay, I've accepted it now, can we move past it because I've accepted it. It's actually sitting with and really integrating and allowing the very real reality of maybe this doesn't go the way that I want it to, and actually allowing that death process to occur. And I'm curious for you, as someone who I really believe to have tapped into a universal consciousness, that you're one of the most joyful people I know. And so I'm curious how has that come up for you at all? Or do you relate to that in any way?
Yeah. And I love that all things, see, this is the thing. When you're operating from the state of the highest level of consciousness, there is no attachment or expectation to anything. I'm at neutrality with all things, meaning like it can go either way, and I'm going to choose my bliss and my joy. If we're fucking going down and the whole earth gets to be destroyed, I'm going to do it with a smile on my face, and I'm going to be partying it up and dancing and spreading light through the whole thing. And I literally have no attachment to if that is the case. It was about a year and a half ago, maybe a little more. I was between some of I think I was called to speak at the ashram, and then I was doing some other service projects. And I was like, the Ascended Masters came in and they told me, they're like, it's coming where we as humans will have the opportunity to either choose the new earth and align to a state of our highest consciousness in seeing each other and operating in this way, or we can choose our destruction. And it's literally it's like a tipping scale. Now, I still, because I don't know all things, I just know what I know. And I continue to grow in all that I know. And I would never claim to have all the answers, because that would be a lower level of consciousness anyways, to say that you should know what I know, or this is what is true. All things are true, and all things have a right to exist based on what you're looking for. And so, getting to witness that, I'm like, what I know is that I'm living in my reality, right? And at the same time, it's like I've been living in this level of reality or growing in it for years. And that doesn't mean someone else in the same world can be having a completely different experience. We know that. So I don't know if, as we choose, some of us might go, hey, I'm fucking choosing the new earth because the new earth is where it's at, and I want that. And there could be us that are totally experiencing newer community, newer systems, experiencing the next level of alignment, and the whole rest of the world could be experiencing destruction. I don't know if it means we go one way or the other, or certain people experience this and certain people are experiencing that. What I do know is that I'm in charge of my reality.
Where's
And
the line? Where's the line for you around spiritual bypass? Like what is that line for you?
It would be anything that I'm not at peace with would be maybe a simple way for it to be. Like, that's why, like, yes, we get to feel all things. I feel like when you described the death, that's what I was going through with the staff. And it seems to be that in one of my roles I took on for the planet is to be a vessel of alchemizing things for the planet. There's a lot of times, I mean, I had my own journey with that, to not let myself be sacrificed or suffer from it, because I would be called to be a vessel of light for the planet. And so when that all came through, it was like, what the fuck? Why the fuck do I get to do this? And it was kind of like going through a death, and to just, again, to sit there and be with it, with all things fully. And you know that you and I both are so, so for fully feeling all things, fully being with all things. And so even though, I go into the depths, but this is something I do constantly, Adam. It's not like it builds up to where then people, like, I feel an inkling of off in my system, and I tune in and I'm like, ooh, what am I feeling? What's here? And I go to the depth. I do ceremony and coding every single day where, I can even ask for deeper. Most of the things that are so subtle, most people won't even feel. I'm constantly tuning in to feel what's happening energetically, so that I'm a clean, clear vessel that I can continue to upgrade and feel those different things. So I would say that, spiritual bypass would just be anything that we're not in acceptance of. All the dark, all the light, all of it. See, like, and so what was interesting is, like, seeing all the things that have come up with, Black Lives Matter and everything, as much as what I tend to see is, as, I know that I'm here to anchor in the light. And I know we all have our different roles. Some of us have, the role of, like, standing there and being part of the, the fight for it and different things. Now, when I have the inner standing that I do, and I know the power of my energy, the power that I bring forth for this planet by what I choose to think and feel and speak and be, then it's like Mother Teresa. If someone asked her to go to an anti-war rally, even though it was against war, she would say no. She's like, but I'll join the peace rally, because she knew the power of her frequency. And so it's like, there's times when I was right after the staph infection and I was coming out of that, the Syrians gave me the assignment of doing Peace for the Planet, which some people here might know about, but I did the 7 days of light code activations free in this thing. And it was just all the directions that they gave me of, again, cleansing the system. Now, the very first day was just a massive leaning in and feeling all things from the collective, all things from the virus, all the hate, all the anger, and just to allow that access point to allow us to actually come to recognition of what it's giving us and loving us. We get to see beyond the illusion that it isn't all love. Like, this is all love, because no matter what we're getting from this, we're all getting wiser. We're all getting more depth of feeling, understanding of all beings and all experiences. So, in that process of moving from that, it's like, I also recognize that I know the power of who I am. And that's the truth we all get to come to, because when we buy into the matrix and we keep feeding the matrix, it's not to say that we get to go, wow, we get to stand as sovereign beings now. We get to self-govern, because as sovereign beings, I know, like, I can only create, my bliss and my joy and my awesomeness, because I'm in charge. I'm the source of my own safety and the source of my own abundance in all things. So we get to create our own sovereignty. We get to stand for what we've been tolerating that has not been working. And yet to stay in a place of fighting or separation is only keeping it alive. So I kind of see the witness of it and go, how do I stand in the light and speak to where we get to go, that we can lead and guide that way? Then we get lost in the confusion, because we could do this all day. I saw, like, beautiful friends that were all conscious, all fighting over words. And it was like, isn't this funny? What do we believe in? What is the thing? Which would be like, I honor and respect every thought, perception, experience you've ever had, and how you're choosing life. And again, I have no attachment to it. What I can do is I can choose how I operate and how I feel and what I'm going to bring forth to the world. And so what I mean by when you say, this is what you're feeling of it, can go that way, it can absolutely go that way. And all I know is, if it goes that way, it's for my greatest, highest good. I have no attachment. I know that my highest self chose every single experience I'm here to be for. And so awesome. If that's where we get to go, that's where we get to go. And knowing that, it's like, I can bring forth, the more of us that choose to bring forth this knowing that we can head that way, and we can find that level of understanding, or this is what's being asked to be alchemized. because 4D, so 3D is like you're in the Matrix. To go into 4D is the Matrix seems more real than ever. So of course, all this, you're feeling more real than ever. Like, fuck, we're going down. Like, this is not going to turn out well. And it seems so fucking real. And it reminds me of a client a while back that I had done, like I was doing a journey VIP day with. We're sitting outside, totally like encoding the field and doing all these things. And something dropped on their head and they said, oh, I think a bird just shat on me. And then I looked down and it was a flower. And I said, actually, it was a flower, my love. And it was like, we think the universe is shitting on us, but it's really just throwing flowers that we're finally able to see. So
and I love that. And it's another way of saying glass half full or half empty. Either a bird shitting on you or flower petals are dropping on your head.
Right. You want to see Adam? It's kind of coming up. Can you see the sun?
Oh, yes. Where are you? Is this Uluwatu or where are you at?
I'm in Candidasa. I'm about 30 to 45 from Ubud.
Okay.
Or an hour, 45 to an hour, depending on where.
Yeah. Got it. Like near the port side for like heading to Noosa kind of thing?
I don't know. I just know I'm by the water. I got a private beach and I got a private mansion and I could be naked 90% of the time and do all my woo-woo-ness. And that was what was important to me.
Perfect. So based on what you said then, because something I've been sitting with personally, I feel like when you think about so I have a new poem coming out this week. I can actually send you a sneak peek to it.
Yay! Yes, please.
It's called Masks. And then I have another poem that's going to release a week or two after that called Pandemic. And I wrote both of them during quarantine. And part of my, let's put it this way, part of what I've identified as is someone who goes in and really tries to feel and understand all these different aspects of humanity so that I can reverse engineer how to transition out into, and that's the role of the bridge, right? Like to be a bridge for people, I need to feel that like 5D, but I also need to feel the 3D because those are the two anchor points, right?
For human.
And so that's part of what I've identified as. And like it's gotten so heavy to go into those realms of the 3D and what's going on in the deep state and like the politicization and Russian like think tanks influencing all our stuff and just all of these things. And so I'm curious for you, how much do you expose yourself intentionally or unintentionally to what's happening in the matrix, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, I have conversations with the Galactic Federation and the Syrians and Palladians, and so I'm aware of a lot of the things that a lot of the humanity isn't aware of or doesn't necessarily have, like, this is what's actually happening. And they've even said it's like there's no need to bring attention to that because it just buys into the matrix. Now, that doesn't mean like what you said, where we're not going, I'm going to not pay attention. We're actually going to go, I'm going to lean in and love and witness it all and bring forth the frequency that I know brings healing to it. And I feel like this is where a lot of entrepreneurs are confused, Adam, is like a lot of the light leaders are, because I know that as it first happened, I had a lot of people that were like, I got this, like holding the field for their tribes, etc. And then when shit really started to hit the fan, they're like, were messaging me and like, how do I keep holding the field for a tribe? And, you know, I tend to be aware of everything that's happening and witnessing everything that's happening, that I can then feel into where do I get to serve. So, you know, and I also am in somewhat of a way, a bubble to a degree of what is supporting my environment, because I'm very aware of where I get called to put my focus and go, and then things will drop into my field and people are like, what do you think about this? What about this? What about this? Now I'm not consuming media. It's like things will pop into my field when I get to bring awareness to it. So I know of what's happening and I can witness what's happening. That's why I said I can witness what was happening with, and this is like you, that then I sit with it and I alchemize it. I literally every day as I do, you know, I'm a energy shakeout Jedi master. Like there's so many times a day I'm like, let me just get all that energy out. And then as I tune in, I code in literally love frequency. I'm sending love to Trump and to Gates and to all the things, because I know the power of love. And that's the only way to the systems, and calling forth the light leaders that get to step into these things. So it's like a matter of being aware and choosing what I get to do with it. So I see there's people such as yourself that the way that you also alchemize it, you go so depth into the research and the feeling and all the things, so that you can really have an understanding of it to then bring that magnification of what gets to come. For me, I tend to be like, something comes in my film, like, okay, I'm aware this is happening in the world. How do I get to do my part in alchemizing it, and then speak to this so that people can hear the way that we respond to it? Because it really came up for me big time when, I would see like people that are light leaders being like, this is fucking bullshit, and, this is wrong. And then, or people, having different opinions and fighting each other is like doing the same thing that we're, that is a low vibrational energy of
with conscious languaging, languaging.
Right. And so I'm like, I felt into that, and it's like, I cannot attach to it because I can honor them to be in their perfect experience. And then it's like feeling called to, hey guys, this is what we get to become aware of, is that whenever we are operating from these ideas, stories, blame, etc., this is what we're creating. And so I like to bring a framework to it that people can hear, oh, wow, that's actually not going to create the results we want, and be a guide and example. But I'm not going to do that by saying, this, and this. So I am in both, Adam. I play in all. Like I love being fucking human. I love the messy. I am like, that's why there's no stories or shame or judgment in anything that I've experienced or anyone else could ever experience. Because I see it all as I honor every single individual as a divine light being who is God, who is worthy of their experience. So it's like, I love being in the messy and, being in the human and seeing all the things that are happening. And I don't buy into the story or let it pull me in. Now, that doesn't mean I don't feel. There's definitely times when I've felt heavily the stuff from the collective and all the people reaching out to me. And what I got to do is I got to be with that. And I got to feel all the emotions that came up and see what was in my system from programming that's been subtle or hidden. The way that someone mentioned to me the other day, where it was like, yeah, well, so many people grew up watching Cops on TV, like, and the programming that's just in creating separation and just witnessing how I remember the years where I had, not so sure things. Now it's like, so when I witnessed a lot of that stuff coming up for people with racism, the interesting thing was for me is I'm like, I don't even have a framework in my mind now of how that can exist, because for me, I see every being is so fucking beautiful. I'm like, every gorgeous being in all of their shapes and sizes and races. And that's what I'm holding. So I can speak to it and bring forth light to what people are experiencing, and almost say, this is where we get to go and be. So more of my role, which I honor all roles, but more of my role is I anchor in the fucking light.
Yeah, you've done a beautiful job, I feel like, of coming back to a really simple ethos of, I'm going to radiate as much love as I possibly can. That's all that I can do anyway. So like everything else, just let it all go. Every day, I just anchor in the love as much as possible. And I think that's a really beautiful perspective. To let you know how I'm going about it, just so you know, this has just been like in the last 4 days, is I've decided that the best thing that I can do is actually, because I don't see myself ever not, I'm the dude who dives into the darkness. Like you see me in Aya ceremonies or whatever, like that's just what I do. And it's beautiful because that's just a process of like, okay, how do I alchemize this? Once I alchemize it within myself, I understand how to do that with others. And that makes me a very powerful coach, and also put it into art, right? Now, what I've decided is, yeah, we might be on the Titanic. We might be going down in that way. And like you said, if the Titanic, I said this to someone the other day, it's like, if the Titanic's going down, but we're all having sex and smoking weed as it goes down, we're having a great time, And so like, there's this perspective that I've taken. Like literally right now, I'm drinking a craft beer because I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, and I don't really drink alcohol. It's been a long time since I drank alcohol. and I had a donut this morning as well. Like those are two things that I haven't done. And there's a fine line, and I get to be in my own integrity of like, where am I using food or alcohol or whatever it is to numb out and run from an experience, and where am I actually now in a chapter where I'm like, you know what, there's a lot of darkness in the human experience, but instead of running to it, or excuse me, running from it and just like spiritually bypassing by turning a blind eye, what if I balance that out by like indulging in all of the things of the human experience that are so beautiful, the flavors of food, the feeling of a really good beer sitting out on the porch listening to music. Like, what if I allow myself to do that? And can I remove the judgment from it so that it's so enjoyable that I can see the balance? Because in many ways, I when we talk about yin yang, we talk about the polarities, right? If it's infinite and there's this spectrum, right, then really it goes in infinite in both directions. So it's simply a matter of where you choose to exist and where you choose to put your frequency, because it is infinite in both directions. It's not like we can say, oh, it's just there's more in this direction or that direction. It is simply going to come down to your choice.
Yep. And I love that you brought up the capacity. And so this, I mean, the thing that you described, Adam, that's how I live every day. The thing that's interesting about this, yes, drink it up, my love. The thing that's interesting about this is through the many years, you know, that I've been on a global citizen journey the last several years and been in the deepest immersions. And, you know, we both have been very committed to just constantly. So it's like, I'm also known as going to the depths of the darkness. Like I love the fucking darkness. I love the depth. I love the shadow. I love the messy human. I love all of it, because that's also accessed all of my multidimensional capabilities, you know, all the things that I've been able to access, not only remembrance-wise, but the level of light. So when you say, I'm the most joyous person you know, it's because I've gone to the depths of the fucking darkness and continue to, that I keep expanding my capacity for joy. So you're right, that it's like the more that we can be in our joy and our light, that it can only go so far until we're willing to go further into the polarity of it, and all things being witnessed as divine. And that's, I guess, why I've come to a place where it's like, well, it's all divine. So whatever we get to experience, and I play in this, I mean, through my global citizen journey, that was huge for me, of actually coming to letting go of all stories about what the body should look like, what food I should eat, like literally letting go of control. And we know that we get to alchemize, like honoring our light bodies and what gets to happen, and be fully fucking living. Like we're here to live, and we're here, and we can catch where, so I feel like I'm just in this balance of witnessing the things that are coming up, you know, diving into it, seeing if there's anything there for me. What do I get to speak to? What do I get to do? How am I constantly creating a clear vessel that I'm not buying into an illusion or taking on story that's going to not serve me, and allow me to still anchor in the light, be the light, continue to expand my life into the greatest things. This time period I've created more in this time period than, I mean, my schedule before was my $150,000 clients. I had one call a month and nothing else on my schedule, you know, and just like creating from my essence, like that's what I committed to in this journey. And when I came out of the staph infection, the series were like, I instantly was told to do a couple shows like of like diving into like what's happening and giving people reference. So there was several shows that I did. I did like a couple Q&A calls like this where people just ask questions and we dive deep into, you know, what's really happening. And then I was called to do Peace for the Planet. And then it's like my book was launching, and then I'm called to do the Align to Manifest that I'm doing now. It's just like, and it's called me forth in such a great way that I'm like, I mean, I can't see anything but glory of this. And it means we still get to feel all of it, because that's how we are going to come through it, whether it be whatever we get to experience. Again, I'm so fucking happy to be here in the now, because in this now, all the light exists, like all the feedback exists. So even as you're like, fuck, I feel like diving in and I'm just going to lean into this thing and get all curious about all this. I'm going to have my beer and fuck it all. Like if we go down, we're going down happy. Like that's the perfect, beautiful moment, because in that moment you are having all that's available for you in that experience. So really you're God experiencing self as human in whatever way that is.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that what you just described as being a very consistent story that I've seen amongst who I would consider to be people that I consider to be peers on a, I don't want to say consciousness level because that sounds so elitist, and I just don't like. I'm not resonating with that necessarily, but from like you and Jared and Abigail and like people that I really respect, and I'm like we vibe. This time of COVID and quarantine, every single one of them, like, we have been creating
Pretty like motherfucker.
so much. And
Right.
it's been wild to see that, because I've been busier in the last 3 months. Like, this community is lit. Like I've been busier in the last 3 months than in like the previous 6 combined. And I thought I was going to chill. Like, I thought this is gonna be great. I'm going to play music and I'm going to do this and I'm going to plan a tour. And then it just became full on and all intuitively pulled into that things. And so there's a lot of people here on this call right now live, and a lot of people who listen to the podcast who are in the space of feeling like there's so much to create and wanting to create so much. And you alluded to this here, where you're like, yeah, you know, I have my $150,000 clients that I have a call with once a month, and people in my mind going, all right, hold on, you're gonna have to tell people how you got to a place, or how you view it at least, to be able to have $150,000 clients that you speak to once a month, right? Because that is something that for most people, there's going to be a cognitive dissonance of even the reality that can happen. And I'd love for you to speak to that, because you're the only other person that I know who's has a similar background with ayahuasca tied to wealth and just different things that, like, I would love for you to speak, because our theme this month has been prosperity within Create. And so I'd love for you to speak to your perspective around prosperity, financially, but prosperity on a bigger scale as well.
This is where I feel like the truth. I mean, again, sometimes I get asked questions that are very much like the, you know, like coming from, as you described, like you heard of me being the $1 million mentor. Obviously, $150,000 clients is my lowest level of client. It was up to $1 million, and you know, you thought I'd come in being structural and business and And I'm like, I choose to live by spirit through the heart, and you know, everything is in flow of what feels good and where I'm called to be. And I know I'm a vibrational being that's constantly shifting and changing. And so from the time that I did that call with you, and you know, then when I went on my global citizen journey, I was asked to let it all go. Like, that's where I got to surrender. The universe was like, let it all go. I let go of the mansion. I let go of my boys. You know, we got to go have them live with their dad for the first time in like 14 years. And, you know, I got to let go of all my clients, my masterminds, everything. I was called to just be able to be fully with myself and lose all attachments, identities, and even stories of money. And in India, it really dropped in as I worked with some enlightened masters as to, you know, all that matters is how many more people can I serve? How many more people can I serve? And I know if I'm in service, I'm always supported. If I'm in my dharma and I'm operating at, again, my highest level of light, I'm in my bliss, my joy, and I'm in my service, I'm always taken care of. And so that journey led me to, like, I don't give a fuck about how much money I make. I just know that I'm worthy of, like, this is what I'm worthy of. I'm worthy of being fully supported. You know, I love being in an environment where they bring me fresh coconuts every day and do my laundry and, you know, take care of everything. And it's like, so I can call in that level of abundance to support myself, knowing that the level of abundance I choose to receive is only a reflection of the amount of love I have for myself and value I'm giving for the world. And what's true, Adam, is all polarity, right? Is at the same time, I can let go of any story that money is of my worth. And that's where I feel like we're getting to go with New Earth abundance. And because New Earth abundance is truly coming from the place that when we get to alchemize, that we go, okay, I'm a God, so I'm fully worthy. I'm worthy of having that my value. Now imagine this. If I say one client or one call a month with a $150,000 client means I know that that 1 hour and a half that I talk to that person is so fucking valuable that it will create them a huge impact on their life. That's just the reference point for it. So it's like the first $1 million client I got, within 5 weeks, he had a 5 million ROI. And we know that that's just financial. That's not even relationship, everything else.
Happiness and all the things. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's the idea, first you get to alchemize and know your level of worth. that we're all on the journey to do as humans. And part of that where we're going now is, I believe, like, we get to give it all away. We get to serve in every way possible. It's why you create this community, which all these people here are like receiving from you, receiving the support of just every call, everything that you share. And you're like, okay, I can feel the frequency of more light imprinted in my system. I can have new perceptions. Okay, how do I integrate that into my life? How do I get to do? And everyone is being affected because you got called forth to create more than fucking ever in the last 3 months, as well as I did, and all, these people that are in service. And you most likely, what I'm guessing is you're doing it, and it's not for money, Adam. It's not for, you're not making bank off the Create community. I know you aren't. And it's the same thing. I did Peace for the Planet for free. And then so many people, we had over 5,000 people jumping in that missed it. We held it open for over another month. And why I was called to do this Align to Manifest, which Align to Manifest was like years ago, before I let all those things go, when I did masterminds, they were 50,000 a piece. And now with Align to Manifest that I'm doing, it's a 6-month container. It's not an inkling of what I could even offer in those, or even what I've ever been able to offer $1 million clients. And it's literally a couple $1,000s. Because it's basically cost to cover my team and to be able to put my energy there for 6 months. And that is because I know that right now with the New Earth Abundance, what we're all being called to do is give all that we have, serve in every way. And I know that I'll be supported. I know other things show up, investments come in, other things show up that I'm supported. So there's what it feels like we are having the opportunity of, as you know, is that everything's being destroyed, that we can find new ways of creating, serving, connecting, sharing, supporting. So everyone's literally forced to, in a way, to go, all right, I can't do it the old way. I get to find a new way of giving my gifts and sharing even more. So I feel like for us to connect to what is New Earth Abundance, where we all are, I've seen and having conversations with Palladians and Syrians and the Galactic Federation, and seeing what's coming with the New Earth. What was that?
I said, no big deal.
All the aliens.
Do you know Elizabeth April? I had her on here 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if you know her. She's a total Cosmic Channel Galactic Federation.
What's her last name?
Elizabeth April. She's got some really good stuff, actually. You would probably resonate with her. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, having seen the vision, it's like what I was given the vision to Peace for the Planet. And I saw how it was about healing yourself. When we heal ourselves, we heal the planet, and how that magnifies. And I saw the vision of it and was like, oh my gosh, this is huge. And my human self was like, fuck, can I do this? And wow, this is so much. And I had to alchemize that and be like, I'm so excited to transfer all this light and to do this and create with ease and grace. The same thing I'm doing with Align to Manifest. I tell you that I had on my schedule 1 call a month to just reference point. Now I'm literally going to be holding a 6-month container where I'm on every other week, and I'm literally creating like a motherfucker all the things that I teach. And so that's where I feel like we're going for New Earth Abundance, is that how do we let go of the idea of money? Because your worth is not how much you have in your bank account or your circumstance of the world. See, these are old ideas that like my money depends on the circumstance of what's happening in the world. That's what we're being asked to alchemize, where actually I am sovereign. And so, as a sovereign being, I know I receive infinite abundance and wealth from all the universe. When we go, oh, wow, look at how abundant I am by the trees are sharing shade with me. And I always have breath, and I always have food, and I always have a bed to sleep in. Coming from appreciation versus expectation in our way of operating, it's been very much, I expect this to give me that, and these systems to be in place to support me, and my bank account to say this for my wealth and my worth. We're being asked to destroy all of that and go into our wholeness is our abundance. Our sovereignty is our abundance, and we're abundant from all things. And then how do we just simply go, I create what feels good for me, and I know I'm supported. And that's where I feel like we're really going.
So tell me if this is your experience. I want to expand on this, but just a simple even yes or no to this. I've found in my own life that the guidance comes through intuition. And then once you say yes, then the understanding comes. Of why, right? And so it's not like, oh, I'm getting intuitively, I'm supposed to do this thing, and now I'm just going to wait to understand it, and then I'll do it. It's like, I'm intuitively called to do this thing. I start to do it, and then it makes sense. And so with Create specifically, I'm not sure how familiar you are, but we have Create Premium, which for me is a new model of basically personal development and spiritual curriculum, where we have 7 classes. And to give you an idea, like me for an hour to an hour and a half, Jared and Abigail for an hour to hour and a half, and other epic facilitators doing that thing. That's the level of facilitation for an hour to hour and a half. And I haven't done one-on-one coaching for less than for an hour and a half call, less than like $2,500 a call in a long time. And so to be providing that level of value, which full price for 7 a week, meaning almost 30 calls a month that people can take for $300 a month, full price for the premium. As I started to go into that and create it, it's already created. The reason became clear to me, which is what we're seeing on the planet right now, is we're seeing the personal development, the understanding of frequency, the esoteric wisdoms have in a lot of ways been a privilege to the 1%, right? Like the personal development, pay for the workshops, pay for the coaching, pay for whatever. And yet the 99% are the people who are being thrust into their amygdala and their limbic brain system and being controlled through politicization and propaganda and fear mongering that's happening. And so the way that we can actually shift it is we get to bring this understanding and this consciousness to people who can't afford the level at which I personally was charging before. And so that became clear to me. The understanding of why became clear after creating the community. And so from the I wanted to share that because I love that you're doing a similar thing by slumming it for one call at 150K a month, but actually from what you're talking about, like giving at the level you're giving, which is like you're giving just as much as you were in a $50,000 mastermind. Here, giving more.
Plus, I was like, it's like beyond, and that's what I mean. It's like so incomprehensible. We have to let go of stories of this separation and just know the way that we create this new earth is we all get to share what we are and we will be supported. And that's all that matters.
Yeah. And I think that what's also clear is letting people understand in the 1%, so to speak, that when the 99% rises, a rising tide lifts all ships, like the quality of life, happiness, like the 99% being happier, healthier, like more engaged in what's going on, the 1% benefits tremendously, even if it's not financially in their pocket. And so, that was just something that I wanted to speak out. And there was a question that came in here, which is, what are the daily practices that you have that are most beneficial, the 1, 2, or 3 that are most beneficial to you to support with staying in the energy you're in even right now? Like you were up before the sun rose, you are on fire, everyone's getting a chance. Like this is Marci. This is like chill. Marci just woke up. Like Marci goes hard, and she's always been that way. And so, what are the most beneficial practices for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, my life is ceremony. Like everything is sacred and intentional to me because I have aligned to that, knowing the power of everything that comes to me. So when I wake up, it is very much like I instantly am speaking to the universe, gratitude and appreciation of this beautiful, glorious day, and getting to then I know that this is probably one of the most important that I feel like people don't really have a concept to, just because our 3D eyes can't see it. When we see energy and, like if we saw what's actually available in our field, because again, our 3D consciousness allows us to not knowing of our multidimensionality allows us to not necessarily see everything that's in the field. And there's this picture I just shared with someone yesterday, Adam, that was when I was doing some, work with some people, and I was literally coding into the field, and someone happened to take a picture, and you could see chunks of light codes coming in through my hand, down through my mouth, out through my body, into the clients, out through their crown chakras, out through their hearts. And it's like, that's what's really happening. So most people just aren't even aware of the power of us, the power of our energy, because everything is frequency and energy. So I believe an etheric, what I would call an etheric shower, is more powerful than you having a daily shower. Like, because you're just, especially with what's happening right now, everyone's feeling, the moment you turn on, you see anything on Facebook, etc., you take anything in, the feeling of that most people are watching TV or, taking things in, and they're feeling the collective frequency. We share one collective mind, one collective frequency. And so, I know I consistently, even for myself, it's like if I'm like creating or doing something and I start to feel any edginess or any heaviness at all, I bounce and I shake, and I'll do like a total crazy shakeout. I'll do some breath. And then so it's like releasing, and then I tune in and like, what am I feeling? What's, and I instantly. So it's like, I'm aligning to the belief that bliss is my natural state. Bliss and feeling good is my natural state. Peace is my priority. Now that doesn't mean, again, we get to realize it's not to bypass anything and just try to do something that's going to create bliss. It's to lean in to whatever feels uncomfortable, to get present with it, to feel it all fully, that allows that stuckness to come up and be witnessed and be loved. And then I get to alchemize it. So Uratel was the angel that taught me emotional alchemy, which is truly the key to manifesting abundance, which is in anything, to how deep can you go with it? So it's the goal is to go, how deep can I go with it? So for people right now, the practice can be the moment this is what I'd give everyone. Do a check-in every hour. Your world will fucking change so fast if you set your alarm. This is one of the things I teach with my 5 steps is if you set your alarm,
tangible tool, write it down.
Your alarm goes off, and it's simply do a check-in, and you just go check in like, all right, what am I creating right now? Now, if everything's based off frequency, what am I thinking right now? Was I just thinking something of frustration or being bothered? What was I seeing? What was I speaking into? What was I feeling? And we have to just call yourself on your own bullshit result moment to go, what's operating right now? Oh, if this is what was operating, then shit's coming from it. It's only going to show up, right? And so I call this like the greatest proactive tool, because it's a check-in so it's like you check in and you're creating awesomeness. If you're talking to me, Adam, and you're like, joy, 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 bling, bliss, magic, miracles, butterflies, fairy tales, right? And then we go, wow, how much more fucking joy can we experience? What would 50% more feel like? Like how much more play? Oh my gosh, I can totally turn on some jams and I can do this too. And so we're imprinting over and over. We're realigning back to joy and peace. So if something's off, we get to be present with it, see what's there. And that's how we become that we're this vibration, this balanced vibration of operating from a high vibration. We're not getting, all over the place, because the moment we do, we go, oh, I can feel that. What is that? So that's why I say my life is just kind of ceremony. I'm led by what feels good. I ask constantly, what's the most nourishing for my soul? What would create more joy right now? What is my highest light? How can I create the most service right now? So my morning practices is I get up and I shake and I tap and I just releasing anything from even the astral state, from dream weaving state. As people wake up from dreams and they can feel heavier, anything, it's like, I'm going to etherically cleanse myself off. And then I'm tuning in and I spend time at my altar. I'm like, what would be of the highest service today? What would feel the most aligned to my soul? What would be the most nourishing for me? See, I ask questions based on allowing me to be guided by the energy to what feels good, versus questions like, oh, what do I have to do today? What do I need to get done? What should I do? Like, you can feel the vibrational energy of that. And, like yesterday, I had a friend here and I got up and I did some movement, but my body wasn't really feeling like that much movement. And the old me would have been like, all right, I'm going to force myself to get in a hard, a workout. And I was like, my body just wants to move this little bit. I'm complete. And I was like, oh, what feels good? And I was like, oh, I'm going to go out by the water and I'm going to do some bouncing, tapping, and some breath and some meditation. And I got down into the beach and the sand felt so good. My little girl inside was like, I just want to play in the beach. So I started doing cartwheels and then I started like, ooh, I'm going to see if I can do front handsprings like I did when I was 10. It just felt fun and good, even though I'm 40. And I was like, I wonder if I can do handsprings. And so I just ran and did handsprings and I fell on my ass. I got super dirty and I just was like, well, that felt good. And I was like, well, what feels good now? I'm just going to jump in the pool. And I let go of the idea of what I was doing because my soul did this. And coming out of that, I felt so fucking high and blissed then that's like, ooh, what would feel good? And when I create with such fucking ease because I'm operating from a place of I'm worthy, I'm enough, I do what feels good versus shoulds or have tos, if that makes sense. And what
do you have any things at all that are non-negotiables that like you'll do every day as part of your routine, even if on a particular day you're like, I really don't want to meditate or whatever it is, but I'm going to because this is just a non-negotiable?
Yeah, I those things are the red flags, right? That something bigger is happening when it's like, I don't want to really tune in. So I mean, every day, and it's not that I see it as a non-negotiable, because I do operate in myself of like honoring myself. Like, it's like, you decided to have a
Donuts and
donut,
beer. Donuts and beer.
right? And so it's like, for the most part, I live as a very aligned light being. Like I eat minimal food because my body doesn't require it anymore. I fast a lot, and I live off of breath and sun and, minimal. And so, but then it's like, yesterday we were at this whole resort, the last few days have just been total adventuring. And it's like, ooh, that sounds good. That feels good. There's just no story. It's like, that feels good. And so in living this way for a long time, it's become so imprinted that this is how I feel good. So it's not like I meditate because I should meditate and I want to get to that state. I meditate because it's what feels fucking awesome. So those things that someone, again, might call non-negotiables just happen to be my core ways of being, like my core ways of flowing with the world.
And it's important for people to understand that what you said, because you mentioned it, but I think it's a huge key, which is if meditation, or let's say stretching or meditation, something like that, is how you feel better doing that thing, but on a particular day you're like, oh, I don't want to. That's the red flag that there is something there, and learning to decipher between, because then in that moment when you say, oh, I'm not going to meditate because I don't feel like it, it's easy for the mind to rationalize, well, I'm just living, well, whatever, when in fact you're running from a discomfort. And a thing that is key to how you and I both live our lives is we do not run from the discomfort. We go into the discomfort, and through going into the discomfort, it allows us to create the reference points that you're talking about, because it's in my mind, it's what lies on the other side of the discomfort that is actually the thing that solidifies the joy in doing the activity. Right? Because if you're doing the activity, think about the conscious community that cannibalized itself during COVID and all these things that we've probably seen a lot of that is because for a lot of those people, their practices and their beliefs worked really well in fair weather. And when things got real, all of a sudden that went out the window. But in knowing that it works during the hardest times is when I feel like the brain really wires itself to understand the value of it so that it can become the habit.
Yeah. Well, and what I also feel is important to witness, for people to really imprint with and see, is that we've come from, the masculine structure, like ideas of what success looks like, and people here in the self-empowerment, okay, I should meditate. Okay, I want to meditate. So I'm doing that thing. And it's almost like to get to an end result. When I recognize that, and I really understood that the more what's happening in our systems, like when we use breath, let's say, for instance, something, so even like my water bottle, I don't know if you guys seen, this is my fun water bottle I travel the world with, because it encodes frequencies into everything that I drink. So again, I'm like always like, I know the power of frequency. So it's like, how can we magnify the frequency? And being able to, witness or have the things in my field that are, a lower vibrational frequency versus a higher vibrational frequency. So I'll give you an example, like I was saying, like with breath, most people think, like, they don't even think about breath, right? We don't even think about breathing. Breath is just what we do. And this is actually how easy creation is. It's just, breath is something that's always happening naturally. We're always effortlessly breathing. Just like you're always effortlessly vibrating. Most people haven't tapped in and gone, what am I vibrating right now? What is the frequency that's coming from me? Now, at a higher level of understanding around breath, you know that breath is actually light and life force energy. And when you breathe in, if you had the conscious awareness that every breath I take in is literally feeding my body energy, and I can pull energy from the earth. That's why I go put my feet in the grass as much as possible, and I'm in nature as much as possible, because literally it's feeding my system. If I'm standing on concrete, I'm actually being drained of energy. It's pulling energy. So it's like having a conscious understanding of what breath is. All of a sudden I can be present with my breath. I can utilize my breath, and I can witness it as like, wow, this is feeding my body and it's giving me healing. And when I circulate my breath, I'm literally moving stuck energy through my system, and I'm opening and I'm activating things. And I'm through breath and through all this awareness, what we do is we open our higher heart, which our higher heart is the step to opening up our heart-centered consciousness to be able to come to a state of unconditional love. So that can come and start with breath. And yet, so now someone might be like, I should do some breath work. I call it breath play. And it's those times when I'm like, I don't feel like it, but there's nothing really happening or going on, but I don't really feel like it. When I remember, well, wait, what do I want to be experiencing? And what is this actually giving me? Can I just soften into the very next inch? So the other thing I'd give people is to go, when we ask, what's just the next inch you can take? Because when you're feeling kind of and sluggish, or like you just don't feel like meditating or don't feel like doing the things that will support you, again, look at it as a program of like, I'm not worthy. There's something there that says I'm not worthy to feel good. That I just rather avoid that and stay in my instead of allowing myself to feel good. And so it's in those moments when we kind of see that as a mountain, I always like to be like, all right, well, when I take people through the 5 steps, it's like, what am I feeling? Well, why am I feeling this? Well, what do I really want to be experiencing right now? So even if you're just like, I feel sluggish, I don't really want to meditate, well, what do I want to be experiencing right now? And when we call ourselves on our own stuff, it's like, well, if I want to experience bliss and peace or happiness or just to feel good, like, well, then what would the next inch of that be to allow me to do that? And when we can recognize that we can just even just breathe and just sway a little bit, and we can move energy to then go, okay, now can I drop into the idea of, let me just sit and be with what's here. Because a lot of times anything that's to sit and be with, like you're saying, meditating or grounding in, forces people to stop and actually be with what's happening in their body. So those will be the first things out the window when we don't want to tune into what's happening. It's like, and so when we just catch these things and go, okay, wait, what is this actually going to give me? Like, what will breath give me? It's just actually it's gonna just move things from my system. So I'm just gonna start to breathe and sway. That's what I always tell people to do just when they're first triggered. Like, just breathe and sway, so you can soften into allowing yourself to go into the next step.
Yeah, the biggest one for me is, and I advise clients of this all the time, is anytime you're feeling a discomfort of any type,
Yes.
do something to interrupt the pattern. Right? So whether it's a shake, whether it's a jumping down, whether it's 5 jumping jacks, whether it's breath work, whether it's meditation, do something to break the pattern as opposed to staying in it. Because the longer you stay in it, the more that the pathway takes hold. And most people, they go into an avoidance pattern, but the avoidance pattern is actually a part of that process. And so to shift the consciousness and up level, there gets to be the pattern interrupt initially. Right. And so any sort of pattern interrupt, you're talking about breathing and swaying the body or whatever it is, turning on a song and just saying, great, I can take 3 minutes to play a song and dance my ass off like that. We got 3 minutes. And knowing that, we're all on this elevator, and we're going to stay on the same floor unless we consciously choose to press the button and go to a different floor. Right. So, I love that. And we've already gone over an hour. Marci, we've crushed.
Thank you, Adam. We just have so much fun. I do this all day. I love asking also the depth of like what's happening and seeing all sides, and because that's where people, are really stuck and looking at, outside at how different people are playing out. And it's really like, well, what do we want to experience, my loves? What do we want to experience?
100%. And the cool thing is, because I know there's a bunch of questions in here that we're just not going to get to, but you're in the Unify 21-day immersion, which is completely free. So everyone who's listening to that, get in there, find us on Facebook. What's listed in the community, because you're doing at least, I think we're on a panel together. So that's at least 1 or 2 things that you'll be doing in there for sure. And then how else can people find you? Like, let them know where they can find you and get this information.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's easy to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, under Marci Lock and Marci Lock Mentor. My book just launched and came out. So there's a pre-order. The 5 steps that I'm talking about, the freedom, I kind of teach that tool to be able to integrate and always move through any resistance. And that actually comes with because it's pre-order, we have a whole ton of bonuses. So it comes with my entire Freedom Audios coaching and videos. So that's awesome if you're looking for the support of moving through stuff.
I'm supposed to
What
send you. I'm supposed to send you my address. Actually,
did you
I
not
haven't.
send me your address?
I
Oh, that's
don't
right.
know. Remember, I was traveling. I didn't know where I was going
I
to be.
know. I thought maybe you did because I didn't follow up on that. That's why I have team details. So yes, please send me your address, and
Yeah.
they'll send you a book.
What's the name of the book?
It's The Awakened Being, living in liberation, bliss, abundance, and bliss right now. I'm like, which one comes first, abundance or bliss? Living in liberation, abundance, and bliss right now. So I think it's awakenedbeing.com is the pre-order thing for that. And then, gosh, my podcast. I'm like, what else do I have? My podcast, The Awakened Being, Conversations Create Change. All that's just on if you go to marcilock.com, there's a link to the show, a link to some of those other things. And then it's just, however else we get to share light. So I did just do which anyone could find on Facebook, that Manifestations of the New Human. That was a live event that I did last week. And we had hundreds and hundreds of people that couldn't get on because we were at full capacity. So we decided to do a replay of that, and that's available for a couple more days. And you can find that on Facebook as well. And just so many ways that we can share the light. Just like with you with the podcast and stuff, that for me was a next level of how do I just give the tools and the truths and immersions that everybody can experience. So there's so many things to be able to support us when we just simply continue to stay open and move through it and receive.
Beautiful. And so I think everybody in here in the Create community who's been here live and everyone listening can see why I love you so much. You're just a fire. Let's on screen, everybody show some love to Marci. Throw some hands.
Receive. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I accept, I receive, I see. Thank you for love.
Yeah. And I'm going to send you a sneak peek into the spoken word video that I'm going to release later this week.
You know how I geek out on stuff. I'm like, okay.
That's one of the things. I said this last time, I think on because Jared was actually on here. Jared Grantham was before this. Being fans of your friends is so cool. When you're actually a fan of your friends, it's one of the best feelings in the world. And so I think
I'm one of your biggest fans.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm such a huge fan of you. It's been an honor again, as always, to drop in with you here. Thank you for jumping on this podcast again. You and I will collaborate on things. It's coming. I can feel it. It's gonna happen.
I'm gonna be leaving to the States in about a week and a half, and I'll be there for about 2 months.
Where?
So I'll have a beautiful, glorious place up in the mountains on a lake in Utah to be with my boys. So I get to go be with my boys. I was going back in March, and then that's when everything hit. And so I got to surrender going to be with my boys and being here. And it was perfect because I was called to do all that I've been called to do. So I'll be going back there to love on my babies as much as possible.
Yeah. And Mama Bear.
Yep. Mama loving. So, if you end up wanting to come to stay in the mountains, I always have a room for you wherever.
I love you. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina until mid-August. And then I wanted to be in Bali, but I don't know when they're going to actually open up. So I don't know where after that goes. And
in October and December, they say they'll open it back up. I'm actually getting a business visa while I'm here, just so I can get into any country that I want to when I want to.
Yeah. That may be the vibe down the road. And what's cool, just so you know, you're the last deep dive live for at least a month for the Create community. I'm not sure if they're aware. The podcast is pausing as we're going to relaunch a new season in like 4 to 6 weeks.
Amazing.
And so you're the last deep dive live.
Markers with you, like when we did the $1 million thing, then you were like, you manifested $1 million client, and it's like these, that's how I don't live in time, so that's how I know what's like time frames. I'm like, oh, and that. So
yeah, I'm going to tell that story tomorrow on my roundtable. I've been doing a 2-parter on money specifically, and tomorrow I get to that point of manifesting the $1 million client, and I'm going to include the discussion with you where I was like, I'm not a match to this, and the process of becoming a match. So as from a personal level, professional level, spiritual level, I am so grateful to you for being a part of my life and coming on here on the podcast and sharing all your light and your wisdom. Marci, as always, thank you. And for everybody who's been a part of this, listening, watching on YouTube, etc., I want to remind you that always, in always, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved.